Welcome back to Truly Force-Free Animal Trainers, Trainer Quick Tip. So today what I want to talk about is a little bit about having senior dogs or deaf dogs. So as many of you know, this is Captain. He's been in a lot of videos. He is an 11-and-a-half-year-old, almost 12-year-old lab mix. And he was my agility partner. He's been Karen Pryor Academy partner. So Captain knows a lot of skills. But as he's gotten older, age has caught up with him. And so he's had chronic ear infections in one of his ears, which have led to pretty much deafness in one ear, and then age has led to decreased hearing in the other. So his hearing is not as good as it used to be. And he also has hurt his back. And so now he's doing physical therapy and doesn't compete with me in agility anymore, which is also why you don't see him in as many videos, because we have to always keep him safe. But what I want to talk to you about today is how grateful I am that I taught him hand signals when I was teaching him verbal cues at the very beginning. So as Captain started to lose his hearing, I noticed that he wasn't responding. He has a very, very good recall, and he's always been super obedient, loves training, loves everything I ask him to do, always wants to do more. And so I started to notice that he wasn't responding when I said sit, or down, or come, or even if I called his name, which was all very unusual for him. So instead of blaming him and calling him stubborn, I really started to assess his hearing, and confirmed by the veterinarian that his hearing is probably little to none at this point. So we came into a problem too, was when he needed physical therapy for his back. I needed to have physical therapy exercises like sit and down. So what I want to show you today is the importance of teaching hand cues and hand signals when you are training your puppy or your new dog. Also, if you have a deaf dog, you can also do this if they're deaf, because obviously if they're deaf, their hand cues aren't going to matter. So Captain obviously wandered away. He just went to go get a drink of water. So in previous, I would just call him and he would come running over. Right now, if I say Captain, he has no clue I'm even saying his name. Even if I say Captain, come, doesn't respond. But what I've used for recall now is, in this situation, I'll hand clap. So when I'm ready for him, I'll hand clap. Or at night, if he's in my backyard, I flash my lights that are for my backyard, and he knows it's time to come. So if I wanted to come now, I'll say, I will. And then he comes, and I'm treating him. Clapping was never a cue I taught him, unfortunately, when he was a baby for recall. So now I wish I had taught that. So if you have a puppy, something loud like that, because the high pitch tends to get him to pay attention. The other thing that you might even consider whistles or things like that for your recall. Now for hand cues, some simple hand cues that you could use, whether you're training a deaf dog, you're training your other dogs, or that you want to use maybe as they're adults, is, so for sit, come here, Captain, come here. For sit, of course, Captain has a very good sit. So if you were teaching him with just treats, you might raise your hand up and give him a treat. Then what happens is this becomes my hand cue. Now for down, if I had a treat and I was teaching him, I could take my treat and lure him straight down, and it becomes a down, which then this becomes the hand cue. So I can have him sit, which I'm so used to saying it out loud, and then I can have him sit. He's thinking I'm asking him for other tricks right now. There you go, down. And then also what I learned is I need to remind him to stay, because if I just ask him to do it down, he doesn't always stay now that he's deaf. So I've been using my hand cue as a stay more. And that is something I have needed a lot, because his stay used to be really solid as soon as I asked him things. But I'm giving him some grace, knowing that his world has changed a lot too. So he went from a hearing dog who was my agility partner, who I could whistle quietly or say his name quietly and it came running, to now I imagine his world is super quiet. And I've noticed that he's more vocal. He barks more than he used to. Sometimes he has a harder time orienting if he hears a sound like a door slamming. So these are all things that you need to consider when you have a dog that might have hearing issues, whether it's a puppy or an adult dog. So be compassionate, have empathy, and then rethink how you're speaking to them. So I had to have a complete change in my perception of how I worked with Captain. At first, I always just talked to him. I would say, sit, and I would say down, and he would just do it. Right now, I'm talking to him, and he's not even making eye contact with me, which before, if I said his name, it was immediate eye contact. So we're having to make adjustments, and we're learning how to maneuver this new stage of life. But I want him to be happy. I want him to be comfortable, and he likes knowing what I'm expecting from him. So I have to make sure that I don't forget that I can't just use my voice. I have to use my hand signals. And in some situations, we've had to make some adjustments on things. So he knows like a nose touch. I used to use it a verbal cue. Now I just put something in front of his nose. He knows that a nose touch means touch it. So of course, some of our tricks that were verbal, we can't use as much. But fortunately, I have a lot of hand signals in my toolbox when I'm working with Captain, and that's helping. So if you have a puppy that's deaf, remember that your hand cues just need to be very clear and they need to be consistent. So it doesn't matter what you use, as long as you know what you're expecting from your dog and you're very clear with your dog what you're trying to teach them. So I hope this little tidbit helps if you have a hearing impaired dog, whether it's by birth or age. And just be patient with them. Use your hand signals. They can learn hand signals just as easily as they can learn verbal cues. And it will really help them have less stress in their life because you're still able to communicate with them. So I hope this helps, and we'll see you next time.
Captain.